This is NewsDesk. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Jason Miller, here with Dr. David Summers, director of the Summers Institute of Foreign Affairs. Now let's see, David, what's been going on this past week. First up, this has gotten a lot of coverage. This from Reuters. Rallies are being held in cities across the country this weekend to protest the failure of police to arrest a Florida Neighborhood Watch volunteer for shooting to death an unarmed black teenager. Trayvon Martin was shot dead on February 26th after George Zimmerman, a white Hispanic Neighborhood Watch captain, believed the young man walking through the gated community in a hoodie looked suspicious. Zimmerman followed him and an altercation ensued. Zimmerman has said he was acting in self-defense. He has not been arrested, though state and federal authorities are investigating. Well, it's certainly caused quite a ruckus.
Yes, and it's being framed as a racist incident, and in fact, that's the only reason that the feds can be called in, because if it's a hate crime, then the feds have authority, but otherwise it's the state and local authorities that must deal with it. I just wonder, Mr. Gingrich weighed in on this recently, and he said he thought it was disgraceful that it's being called a racist incident at all. Who knows if it was racist? The fellow that was indeed charged with this, not charged yet, but suspected of shooting this guy, is a Hispanic, after all. And what if this young man were Hispanic or Asian or white? It happened to be black. Would he have acted in a similar manner? These are all unsolved questions as yet.
Well, this brings up another topic related, which is the gun laws in Florida. They've got very liberal gun laws there.
Well, you may call them liberal. This is the stand your ground law, but most people say that's been misinterpreted. It does not mean that you can run after somebody, especially in this case of Zimmerman, where he was told by the police not to pursue this guy and run after him and engage in aggressive action of any kind. It is really meant to be used if your home is being invaded or something of that kind, or you feel under dire physical threat yourself.
Well, let me go into detail about how this works because it's interesting. This from ProPublica. 23 states have sweeping self-defense laws just like Florida's. State laws asserting an expansive right to self-defense have come into focus after last month's killing of said Trayvon Martin. While local prosecutors have not arrested the shooter, the case is now being investigated. Local officials have pointed to Florida's wide definition of self-defense. In Florida, once self-defense is invoked, the burden is on the prosecution to disprove the claim. Most states have long allowed the use of reasonable force, sometimes including deadly force, to protect oneself inside one's home, the so-called castle doctrine. That's what you were referring to. Outside the home, people generally still have a duty to retreat, in quotes, from an attacker, if possible, to avoid confrontation. In other words, if you can get away and you shoot anyway, you can be prosecuted. In Florida, there is no duty to retreat. You can, quote, stand your ground.
Yes, but it does seem that Trayvon was unarmed, amongst other things, right?
Well, but all right, so I think Zimmerman is claiming that Trayvon was reaching
for something.
So he doesn't know what's going to be coming out.
Yes,
I guess.
The real problem is that the police, for some weeks, do not even charge Mr. Zimmerman. Right, that he was just left alone without the slightest police action against him.
Right, but according to the Florida laws, he doesn't have to defend himself. The burden of proof is on the state to prove that he did not act in self-defense.
But they didn't do anything at all.
Right, but that's why they can't arrest him.
All right.
Because he's allowed to shoot and claim that
Yes,
it's
you
self-defense.
could call him in for interrogation. You can question him. You can send people to his house to talk to him about the incident. But none of these things were done, Jason. Nothing at all was done.
That's a good
Nothing. And what the people are saying is, for weeks they just ignored this killing, right? Whether he was black or Hispanic is another matter, if you want to make it racist or not. But he did kill someone, a young boy, and nothing was done by the authorities. That, to my mind, is the most egregious example of police complicity in this.
Well, you make good points, David. Because actually, if you take it a step further, you can have any two people that know each other and have an argument, and the one can just shoot the other and say,
Yeah.
I felt threatened.
I felt threatened. That's it. And the police just ignore it? Really?
Well, that's the point. So, and anybody who...
Where's the investigation?
Or somebody who just wants to do somebody in, just hates somebody for whatever reason.
He threatened me? Excuse me?
Well, they just need to go up and start an argument with the person and then
Yes,
shoot
of
him.
course. There must be some investigation, and there was none here.
Yes, well, all right, there you are. Further in this genre, this from Christian Science Monitor, Guns and Freedom, the American Paradox. It's all about guns in the first part of our show here today. There are more guns per capita in the United States than in any other nation. If you have a gentle nature, though, you probably abhor firearms. Every time a confused young person opens fire at school, a worker assaults co-workers, a spouse, passers-by, political figure, store clerk, every one of those violent acts is a powerful argument for locking guns away. If you believe in the right to self-defense and liberty, however, you probably see gun ownership as natural and just. Every assault, home invasion, robbery, hostage-taking is a powerful argument that a lawfully armed citizen might have been able to stop a crime in progress. So it's really pretty evenly divided on which is the best way to go, it seems like.
I think so. Although, more and more, I think, at least the states are deciding that people have the right to concealed carry laws have been passed in so many states already, including this one. And that people feel that they can best protect themselves by being armed, right? Now, next week, you can ask your high-ranking police guest about such matters, who will certainly be well informed about that.
All right, well, this goes on to say Supreme Court's weighed in on this. Second Amendment of the Constitution appears to enshrine the right of individuals to own and carry firearms. In 2008 and 2010, the Supreme Court issued landmark rulings that ensured possession of firearms for lawful purposes. Since then, a slew of states have expanded access to firearms and the freedom to carry them, as you were referring to. By the way, there's 23 states that have laws similar to Florida's, which is pretty lenient, as we said. Just to list these, you may be curious if your state is on this list. It's Alabama, Arizona, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Montana, Nevada, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Washington State, and West Virginia. Now, they list Illinois. Now, Illinois is the last state to allow concealed carry, concealed weapons.
These are two unusual states.
So it must be in Illinois, it holds that you can stand your ground, but with a rifle. You'd have to have a rifle on you. But all the others, we assume it's pistols that they're dealing with.
I would think so.
All right. Well, there you have it. Let's move on now to the Republican primaries, which continues. The most recent one over this past weekend was Louisiana. This from the Christian Science Monitor. Louisiana primary keeps Santorum's hopes alive, but Gingrich and Paul fade. Ron Paul.
Right. This was Gingrich's great hope, is to win Louisiana.
He may drop out at this point, I suppose.
Um, this is the interesting fact about these special PACs. In the past, someone like Gingrich would just be out of money and be forced to drop out. Just be forced to drop out. No money. That's the end of it, right? But with these super PACs, as long as Sheldon Adelson continues to dole out millions and millions of dollars to him, he can stay in forever.
A recent article said that Edelman and his wife are losing interest, and that's probably it for his.
If Adelson and his wife lose interest, then he's toast. Yes.
Well, it goes on. The Louisiana primary was a boost for Santorum's hopes, but while Santorum led Mitt Romney by a wide margin, which was 49% to 27%, Santorum only got 5 additional delegates, the way they divided up.
Yes. Well, he may be losing in delegates, but if he keeps winning states, he's going to have great clout, if nothing else. Now, Wisconsin is the next one up.
Right, next big one.
Next big one, right. And if Santorum wins Wisconsin, whoa, I think that's going to be a major blow to Governor Romney.
Well, actually, latest opinion polls is that Romney's comfortably ahead.
He should.
In
In
Wisconsin.
a state like Wisconsin, he should be.
And now, to give you an idea where the delegate count sits right now, remember you need 1,144 to win the Republican nomination. Romney's at 568, Santorum is 273. Comfortably ahead. And the next month or so of Republican primaries are in states that favor Romney. They're more urban, northern states. Also, Romney his nationwide approval rating has gotten up to 40% now, which is the highest of any of these delegates. So it's looking like it might be endgame there for Romney. Now, in that regard, oh, by the way, we're speaking to Dr. David Summers, director of the Summers Institute of Foreign Affairs. This from the New York Times. A rising chorus of Republicans are calling for the divisive presidential contest to end so the Republican Party can turn its full attention to defeating Obama. Santorum on Sunday renewed his pledge to stay in the race, emboldened by his victory. He's getting a lot of calls for Santorum to drop out. What's the penalty for a guy who stays in and hurts the chances of the party's eventual winner?
None that I can recall. Years back, Governor Reagan did the same thing against President Ford, and was a spoiler to the very end. To the very end. Now, President Ford did get the nomination, but Governor Reagan's persistence in carrying this through to the very end, to all accounts, lost President Ford a very close election to Governor Carter.
Well, you'd think he'd be a pariah.